Too hot for TV.
Welcome back to Doctor Who Too Hot for TV. We are the podcast that looks at all things Doctor Who Extended Universe. Today, I am joined by a new guest, Joe. Joe, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Dylan. Thank you for having me.
It's wonderful to have you here. I mean, I normally know you as your internet name of Mad Paddington, but Joe it is.
Yeah, this is my first outing as not Mad Paddington.
I mean, you can be Mad Paddington if you want.
I don't know. Do you know what it is? I messaged, I sent a couple of messages about being on Bits and Bobs, and Jim Allenby was one of the other ones that I messaged, and he messaged me back saying, "Hi, Mad," and I was like, "That's not." I've just realised there is no name attached to this thing. I probably should put it on there, but
Mad is not my real name.
No. But I mean, I guess I've never had a name. I never was cool enough to have one. My name doesn't really lend itself to that, so.
Well, Mr. Joe, Mad Joe. We'll call you Mad Joe.
Mad Joe, yeah.
So I must ask you the question I ask all my first-time visitors. How did you become a Doctor Who fan?
I'm 35, so I was 15 when the show came back in 2005. And basically that was, me and my family were on holiday in Rayton Sands in a caravan park somewhere in the north of England. And my mum and dad basically said, sit down, you're going to want to see this. And that was it. It became a big family event. I think I was aware. I think my actual first episode of Doctor Who was probably Curse of the Fatal Death.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Which, to be fair, as a potted history, kind of covers everything, doesn't it? Like it does the job. I don't know how well regarded it is now, but I've got a very soft spot for it because it kind of is everything.
It does Daleks, Master, Time Lords, TARDIS, time travel, regeneration. You've got it all covered there.
Yeah, exactly. So I think by the time having seen that and then coming back, like I don't remember there being any big surprise when Tennant turned up at the end of series 1.
Did you start with Rose or did you?
Yeah, no, I started with Rose. It was we were literally. Weirdly, I was back at that caravan park not that long ago with my parents, and they didn't think it was cool that I was like, "This is where it started, guys," and they were like, "We're here for a nice family holiday. Do you have to?" And I was like, but just let me enjoy this. You started. This is not on me. It's 20 years. So we started with Rose, and then it became a big family event every week, I think. And I'm the only one still going.
Right. Okay. So when did you learn about then? I guess a life beyond the show with like spin-off material.
Well, in terms of spin-off stuff, I suppose I was aware. I've never seen an episode of Torchwood somehow. I don't know how that happened because that really feels like it would have been up my street. But I think until very recently, I would have been very much like, if it's not got the Doctor in it, I'm not that bothered. That's kind of that's why I'm here. I've started watching Sarah Jane Adventures probably about 6 months ago. But honestly, and this is, I'm not doing this to like blow smoke up your ass, but it's honestly, most of the stuff I've seen spin-off wise is post discovering your podcast. And thanks for that.
Sorry. I did have somebody message me the other day saying that my podcast costs them money because they end up going to buy the things afterwards, which I guess that's a great compliment.
Yeah, in a way.
But sorry about your credit card bill.
No, that's absolutely fine. It's a strange thing because I think Doctor Who as a whole, realistically, if you watch, like I started the marathon, like I did the full pilgrimage that we do, maybe beginning of 2022, I think I started that. Maybe 2021, whenever it was, I started that from the January and just watched an episode on my dinner break every day. The Colin Baker's 45-minute season was hard because I only got so I only got half an hour for my dinner. So I was just like, I'm just going for quite a long poo. I'll be back in a minute. At some point in the afternoon. So I started that, and then I think I won't be the first one to say it, but the volume of TV making techniques that you learn about through Doctor Who and just sort of following, all the studio stuff and into when they started moving on to location and moved from, the difference between film and videotape. It's just all of that stuff is stuff that I didn't really know an awful lot about prior to watching the show from the beginning. it's really hard not to develop an interest in that, especially if you're watching from A to B. So then getting into the spin-off stuff afterwards is kind of a big. I don't know. It just feels like, I think it's the same as like I was always a big fan of punk music and stuff growing up, and it's very hard not to be like people having a go and just having a crack at it and seeing how well it can go.
Yeah,
it's kind of something I love.
Yeah,
it's why I love podcasts. It's why I love a lot of the music I like. It's why I love Doctor Who in general, because that is the history of the show, is just going, can we do this? Oh, turns out no, but we've tried. And that's the crucial bit.
That should have been a tagline for the show. Forget like all of time and space or whatever. Can we do this? Nah. And you're still doing it now. Like whatever your feelings are on the last 3 years, the last 6 years, the last 20 years, like it's still trying things that it doesn't quite pull off.
Yeah.
And there's still an ambition there that you've got to sort of pat them on the back and go, you really thought you could do that even in 2012 or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I know that you're not the biggest fan of the current era, and I think that's probably fair enough. But I think I will say it very much helps having a quite keen 8-year-old who's only discovering the show now by my side for this season particularly.
I could absolutely see that
because he's loved it. His favorite is Shooty, and he's watched more stuff than I would have expected. We just finished Genesis and the Daleks last night.
Oh wow!
And I don't quite understand. Like, he asked me the other week if we could watch the animated Macra Terror, and I was like, I don't. And I was like, fuck yes. Like, I said to my wife, I was like, can you just take the baby, please? I've got bonding to do. I don't wish to be disturbed now for the next. When we got to the end of that, and he was like, can we watch another one? I was like, yes, of course we can, mate. This is the best. Have I wished on a star? What has happened here? I feel like at the moment the show is very much. I mean, it sort of feels like it plays out. There are parallels to be drawn across the whole of the new Who era, but like, I feel like we're in our second McCoy era now. Like, I know, again, I think on the run through, McCoy's the one I found hardest to appreciate.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because I think the 60s stuff is really solid, and it just kind of does what it's doing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the fact that there's a lot of it missing, it probably helps with the mystery of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tom Baker is the one I would revisit least, weirdly enough, because I think he was very much done. Like, it feels like a very complete run. Yeah. By the time he goes, I think he seems tired, and they've done as much as they can. Like I can't believe I don't listen to an awful lot of his Big Finish stuff, because I'm just like, it's fine. You had your go. You did a really good job, and you can rest now, Tom.
And you can also go sort of, the definitive versions of his stories are all out there. It's not like you're waiting for another Tom Baker classic, because there's enough of them.
Yeah, like, it's hard to believe that they're not going to top any of his stuff. And like, there's no like, whereas obviously Colin got his kind of resurgence through Big Finish.
Yeah.
Tom didn't need that, because everyone loves him and always loved him. And even if he ain't your favourite, he's still the Doctor.
Yeah.
So you don't need that. And then Sylvester's the one, I think, I don't know. And there's a couple of his stories that I absolutely loved, but I just think the show suffers so much from, I don't know, probably from having been on for 25 years by that point.
And just needing a fresh injection of cash more than anything.
Yeah.
Like, they're still making it sort of with inflation and with sort of the budget rises that happen through the BBC, but broadly speaking, the same budget as they were making it 26 years ago. I think they figure it out in this last season, actually, weirdly, where they go, we need to just get out on location as much as possible. And if it's in studio, then it needs to be Ghostlight, because Ghostlight is set in a Victorian house. The BBC can do Victorian houses. So they kind of nail it for that final season. Yeah. And then at least how to sort of work with the tiny budget they've got, and then it's sort of taken away from them. So I can see, like, I love the McCoy era, but I can see why even from Trial of a Time Lord to season 24 feels like a massive tonal shift.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I feel like at the moment, obviously the budget thing probably can't be leveled at the current era, but I don't know. Maybe this isn't an analogy that entirely works, but it just feels like the arguments you hear about the current era are very much the same as it feels like, anyway, from someone who wasn't there at the time for the McCoy era. Like, I was born about 5 weeks before Battlefield was broadcast, so I'm having that as my birth story. Whereas my wife's got the 5 Doctors, so that's a much better, it is, But yeah, so like, it feels like a lot of the arguments that are leveled at it now are stuff that people were saying about the McCoy era. It'll be interesting to see when kids my son's age, kids who grew up watching Shooty, go up and go, actually, there was a lot going on in that. There was this obviously the behind the scenes stuff is going to be fascinating if we ever get a chance to have a look at that. I think I heard it was yourself say something along the lines of that had Russell not come back, we might have been able to get a decent interview with Eccleston at this point. And it felt like he was on the cusp of just about coming out, and then Russell came back and ruined it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but also a lot of the criticisms of the current era, ones that I say myself, I found people saying all about the Jodie Whittaker era, and I loved it. So it's just down to sort of your personal taste. And I kind of hate myself for my own criticisms of it, that they are, it's the scripts, the character's not right. Like, I feel like I've become the thing I hate the most.
It's hard not to, though, isn't it? I think Jodie, the Jodie stuff was interesting as well, because I loved her era. I think at the time, a lot of it was through sheer determination. First watch, a lot of it was like, no, I am going to fucking like this, because the amount of people who are slagging it off, everyone who's slagging it off is a twat. So it's not. So I feel like in order to not be a twat, I'm going to have to really enjoy it. And some of it was weird, and I don't think quite worked. But at the same time, I loved Sasha's master. I loved Jodie's doctor. I think each companion on their own was fantastic. I do probably think there's slightly too many of them. Chibnall clearly writes a very good middle-aged man. It's clear that's obviously where a lot of his skill set lies.
The thing is, Chibnall before Doctor Who, and still is, sort of known for writing strong female characters, but he really excelled, as you say, at his middle-aged men, which I thought more middle-aged male Doctor Who fans would sort of latch onto. I thought it was a clever thing to go, we've changed the Doctor from sort of a middle-aged man, admittedly he was a slightly younger man for the preceding years before Peter Capaldi, but we've still got an identification figure, and they went, no, I refuse to identify.
We're not being the side character now. We have to be the main one or nothing. But that's interesting, actually, because I never really thought about it like that. But they often say, don't they, that I don't know where I stand on this entirely, but the idea of the companion as being us, the companion is like the person who's along for the ride, as we are, and the Doctor is not necessarily the identification figure. And as soon as they put someone who actually accurately depicts the average Doctor Who fan in the show, we're like, no, no, thank you.
No, we don't want this. It's interesting, as you say, the companion being sort of our eyes and ears and the identification figure. And that is sort of right. But at the same time, most of the companions before the Jodie era were all super special human beings who turned out to be the most important people in history. So I'm not quite sure how relatable those people are. No. Like, you pretty much, like, when you get to Bill and Yaz, they do actually feel like just normal people.
I do hate the most important people in the universe thing. I really hate that. And again, I loved very much. I didn't mind it. Obviously, the first time I watched it, I was 15, and I didn't care, because it wasn't the first time. It was the first time I'd ever seen the show, so I didn't know that wasn't, it felt special, even though I wasn't that familiar with the show. It felt like this particular character is special, but when they just happen to meet the most special person in the universe 7 or 8 seasons in a row, it does seem a little unlikely in a way. Except Martha, not you, Martha. You're especially in your own way, I'm sure, but not for me. Thank you.
Anyway, we've digressed. So what about Doctor Who beyond the TV show? So are you an audio fan? Do you read books? Do you read comics? Like, where do you stand on those?
So when I was at university, sort of 2007, 2000 to 2010-ish, I don't know why I said ish. It was precisely those years. I don't know. There was no reason to. I don't know why I'm pretending that I don't know. I do. It was then. So we're during Tennant's second season through to Smith, and I remember hearing an advert on. I used to listen to a lot of Radio 4 and a lot of Radio 7, as it was at the time, because I was exceptionally cool. And I remember hearing an advert for Paul McGann's audio stuff, and I'd never seen the TV movie.
Right.
But I just remember hearing, other Doctor Who on the radio. Interesting. And as a fan of audio drama generally, like I used to listen to Play for Today or whatever it was called, Afternoon Play on Radio 4, like as a regular thing. It's a pre-podcast, really. I used to listen to like good stuff, and now I just listen to people talk bollocks all the time. In a way, in a way,
such is the whole of media consumption these days.
I know, right? Like I used to listen to stuff that people had like crafted and worked really hard on, and there was actors involved, and now I just listen to sort of people talk like wanging on about the same 20 years of telly. But such is life. But I listened to. I'm trying to think what the first one I would have heard was. Probably whichever one the first. Is it Blood of the Daleks, the first Sheridan Smith one? Whichever one it was, whichever the first run they did on Radio 7 of Eighth Doctor plays would have been my first experience of that. And
that's amazing. It's also good to know that was actually bringing people in and not just the Doctor Who fans listening because they want to keep it on air.
Yeah, I absolutely love. I mean, I would say my two top. My son asks me all the time who are your favourites, and I think my top two it always comes down to McGann and Eccleston, because although Eccleston's the one who brought me in, but McGann's the one who kind of made me realise it was bigger than the telly, and I think he is phenomenal. And Sheridan Smith equally. I think the Eighth Doctor and Lucy are just. I think they're probably, if I had to gun to my head, I think they're probably my TARDIS team. I don't know why anyone will put a gun to your head for that scenario, but should they ever do so, I've got an answer ready.
Good to know.
Yeah,
and then it's just wrong answer. It's Tom Baker and Liz Sladen only.
Yeah.
No, you're dead.
Yeah. You're dead for not being a basic bitch.
Yeah, I mean, they're not my favourite, but they are up there. And certainly, if I had to choose a non-televised version of Doctor Who, it would be those two in that run of adventures. It was this interest. Oh, do you know what? We've only done a handful of those on these. I need to do some more of those anyway. But it's just such a perfect time, perfect season. And this thing that feels a bit like new Doctor Who and a bit like classic Doctor Who. And it's just like, you can see why, especially after those, people are like, do a McGann mini-series. The problem is, any McGann mini-series would only ever disappoint compared to...
especially at this point, for sure. It would be such a shame if they did it and it wasn't quite right.
Yeah.
But I think I would have been very much one of those people, but I think it's been lovely to have him back the couple of times he's been in it.
Yeah.
And I think that might have to do us for now, because the audios they're just never gonna, like you say, they're never gonna be better than what he's already done.
And if anybody's got such an amazing new take, they need to do a mini series of it. The showrunner's going to go, well, I'm not going to waste that on a spin-off. I'll do it in the main show. I'm not going to do it on the BBC 4 version of Doctor Who or whatever.
This is this is what we've been waiting for the whole time. Let's piss it away on the radio.
So you mentioned Eccleston, like you're a child of the Eccleston era, and you've picked 2 Eccleston stories today. So why don't you tell everybody the ones that we have listened to?
We have been listening to Salvation 9 from the Into the Stars box set from the Ninth Doctor Adventures, and we have listened to Seas of Titan from the Hidden Depths box set.
Too hot for TV.
Salvation 9 is the first one we're going to cover. As you said, part of the Into the Stars set. It was released on the 17th of August, 2022 from Big Finish. It was written by Timothy X. Atack, directed by Helen Goldwyn, and produced by David Richardson. News at the time, Series 2, The Collection, was announced, and the exhibition Doctor Who World of Wonders, which explored the science behind Doctor Who, was moving to Edinburgh, and Rani from the Sarah Jane Adventures will be getting her own series at Big Finish. Releases-wise from Big Finish, we had The Diary of Riversong, 2 Rivers and a Firewall, Purity Undreamed featuring the 6th Doctor Mel and Hebe, I think it's pronounced Hebe, Gallifrey War Room Allegiance, and Torchwood Suckers. From BBC Audio, we had The Resurrection Plant featuring the 2nd Doctor Jamie and Zoe, and Doctor Who and the Android Invasion. Then from Averse Books, we had The Wall Scrawlers and Other Stories, and from Candy Jar Books, we had some sort of Brigadier spin-off, and the comic strip was The Everlasting Summer featuring the 13th Doctor, Dan and the Yaz. So very recent times all in all.
Yeah, just as a slight aside, firstly, I've always wondered if you did them live, because they always so that was a very exciting moment for me. And the Worlds of Wonder exhibition when it was in Liverpool was I was supposed to go there for my birthday, but then my wife went into labour with our daughter and ruined the whole thing.
Classic.
And now it's in San Diego, and I'm not flying there with two small children. So
yeah,
it'll never happen.
But you did get a daughter out of it, so not all
bad.
Did.
Yeah, I still remember where I was at the time that she called, because she'd gone into hospital thinking you don't need to know this, sorry. She'd gone into hospital saying that, like, with, just for routine stuff, that she was premature. But I was watching the Silurians at home on my birthday on my own when I got a phone call saying you should probably come back to the hospital. So the bit where the doctor's peeking through the door of the doctor's cabin is, I had that paused while I was being told that my daughter was on her way. So that scene is very sort of present in my mind.
It's a very, very important. That's exactly the sort of thing I'd do for my birthday. It's like, oh, I've got the day off or whatever, and I'll be like, what am I going to do? And what are you going to do, Dylan? You're going to go out and get drunk? You're going to go to some amazing party? It's like, no, while you're all at work, I'm going to go and watch Ambassadors of Death or something like that.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Too hot for TV.
The Doctor arrives aboard a command ship above Salvation's ninth moon, where he tries to dissuade Navarch al-Hanan from attacking a jungle settlement identified as Sontaran. He recounts a recent visit to the moon where he met Lops and Gaznak, peaceful beings who resemble Sontarans but call themselves Niners and live sustainably using organic technology. Though sceptical, the Doctor investigates their society and becomes convinced they are a divergent evolution of the Sontarans, showing signs of gender and pacifism. To prevent a military strike, he brings Lops and Gaznak to recruit Sontaran Field Marshal Henks as a witness. Despite resistance and combat encounters, Henks is captured and brought to the Niners' birthing ground, where he ultimately confirms the Niners are not true Sontarans before dying in a skirmish. With the attack called off, the Doctor bids farewell to the Niners, urging them to preserve their peaceful identity.
Too hot for TV.
So yeah, this is quite a contemporary audio, and I've not heard any of the releases that came out around this point, much to my shame, and I've not read any of the books. And so in general, this is a lot of the time on this podcast, people nominate things from the 90s or sometimes a little bit earlier, and every now and then, more recently, there's been people sort of going like the 2010s, 2015, but so it's quite unusual, I think, to cover something from this era.
It was largely hearing, again, I think it was yourself talking, because, I'm very easily pleased. I was very happy with Spider-Man, the one with the 3 spider guys, because I was like, all the spider guys are on the screen. I don't really care, but it felt all right, but I saw it 3 times in the cinema, and every time it was a law of diminishing returns. But I'm very easily pleased, and even I knew that Ravagers was shit. So I was terrified so I feel like you were probably leading into a question about Eccleston coming back to audio. Sorry, I've jumped the gun a bit.
But this is the thing. I was sceptical a little bit about the Eccleston audios, and then the Ravagers messed it up for me. But I did go and do Old Friends later for the podcast, which I thoroughly enjoyed.
It was hearing yourself say that you'd not enjoyed Ravagers and had given up on the range, and I think that's when I got in touch with you and was like, there are better ones. It gets better.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've necessarily made the right choices.
Well, so you chose this specifically because I said the Eccleston range was shit and I gave up on it.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I'm genuinely terrified now that's not going to have had the effect that I had hoped.
Well, I will go straight in. I thought this first one was fucking brilliant. I mean,
good.
Eccleston always talks about how he felt like he got the comedy wrong or didn't quite have enough comedy and wanted to play more comedy. I don't know whether that's necessarily true.
I don't think that's true.
I think with a second season, he probably would have nailed it a bit further. And I have a bit of an up and down relationship with the Eccleston era. Historically, I love it. I've gone back to it and felt it wasn't quite as good. But I think that's just me being a miserable old prick, because it's such an iconic run of like 13 episodes that, I'm just trying to have my hot take that the Eccleston era wasn't as good as everybody says it was. It's great. So we all know it's great, but it also feels like a very complete piece. So when you get something as sort of insignificant as Ravagers that's just a mess,
yeah,
it's like we were saying about Tom Baker. What have you got to add here? What have you got to do?
Exactly.
And to give him something like this, which is both incredibly funny, but also quite moving in places,
Yeah.
It just I really wasn't sure what to expect. I almost fear going in when I see a sort of well-known monster on the front cover, because I'm just like, oh, they've got to tick this Doctor meets the Sontarans, this Doctor meets the Cybermen, all these things. But I mean, it's just fantastic. So what about you? Your overall thoughts on the play before we jump into some of the other bits?
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with anything you said there. I think inclined to agree. I don't think Eccleston's right when he says he didn't play the comedy right. I think there probably could have been improvement, but I don't think he's right to say that he got it wrong.
No.
I think, he kind of, I don't know. He's a Doctor who's trying to find himself, and obviously there's a lot of baggage you can staple back onto him later on.
Mm.
I think he works really well with the comedy stuff, and I love a comedy Sontaran. I'm part of the era that grew up where they were just funny, and to be honest, they always look like them sort of microwavable sticky toffee puddings. So it's really hard to imagine why that isn't funny.
I think it's Doctor Who fans slightly misremember that the Sontarans. I think the Sontarans are pretty funny in classic Doctor Who.
Absolutely.
I think in their first two stories, they're probably treated the most serious, but there are still some sort of quite funny moments.
Yeah, there's no way with that helmet. There's no way that wasn't a bit when he takes the helmet off and his head's the same shape. There's no way that's not funny.
I mean, that was the gag, wasn't it? It's like that was the whole impetus for the story. It's like,
exactly.
Wouldn't it be funny if? And obviously, because people saw it for the first time when they were 10, they were terrified, because that's what Doctor Who used to do, is terrify kids, I guess, in that respect. So I think they confuse it. By the time you get to Invasion of Time, which admittedly, a lot of it's down to production faults, but the Sontarans are almost piss-takingly funny in that, because they're just terribly performed.
It's not the worst thing about Invasion of Time, but yeah.
No, quite. We jump into this. Where in the Ninth Doctor's timeline is it?
I don't know. I think as a general rule, because he does say, actually, is that in the next one? I don't know. I've listened to them too close together. I tend to just assume it's pre-Rose. A lot of people have liked to say that it's in the bit, which this is obviously bollocks, but I like the theory that this is in between the bit at the end of Rose where he takes off for a bit and then comes back and says, did I also mention it travels in time? There's a lot of people have said that the audios are set in that bit, which is incredibly funny as an idea. Yeah. That he's gone off and had about 12 box sets worth of adventures and then come back and remembered the line.
I'm sure there's a thing that a bunch of Doctor Who fans have tried to cram some stories in Robot, where he does a similar thing, where he takes off and then comes back for them at the end or something like that. Yeah. Doctor Who fans will fill a gap in continuity.
Oh, fuck, absolutely. Anytime. It's like if someone dies in a film, if you ain't seen a body, if you can't see it, if the Doctor's not on screen and the TARDIS isn't there, then fuck knows.
I can see why they would do that, because Rose is the person that has this change on the Doctor, and it is sometimes hard to reconcile him being a bit too jolly, I guess you would say, in these sorts of stories, and being too fully formed. But at the same time, what's he going to do? Just mope around the universe? He responds to the situations he's going to get.
I think there is a weird, and I don't know if it's too early to bring this up, but as a general rule, I think this is true of both of the ones that we're talking about today and the Ninth Doctor range as a whole, is there's a real vibe of hope and teaching the Doctor to hope again in a way that he won't have been able to post Time War. And I don't know if I'm assuming that's intentional, because they're clever people that put these things together, but there's a real vibe of, it's the everybody lives. It's basically, they've taken that as his credo, and it's not always the case, but there's certainly the ones we're talking about today, and especially this one, there's a real vibe of, look, it can be okay. Good things can happen in the universe. You might not think they can, but they can. They really can.
Well, let's jump into that. Like, people will have heard the plot, but ultimately it's about a tribe of Sontarans who are good Sontarans and develop this community. And that inspires a lot of hope within the Doctor, and it's about him trying to save a colony of Sontarans. Yeah. So how do you think that's handled?
I think it's really good. I think it's, that initial bit where he is just stumbling through the forest and comes across, or is come across by Lobs, Dan Starkey, in his natural role. That initial sort of fear, because it's it's unusual, I think. I don't know that I've ever heard. I don't really associate the Sontarans with fear, but there's a real fear when he first meets Lobs in the woods, and he just kind of goes, "Oh no, oh shit, this is oh no, this is terrible," and you just sort of think, because if that was a normal Sontaran, he'd be dead in seconds.
Yeah,
but remarkably isn't. And then there's that kind of, and obviously there's the reveal shortly after with Gaznak, who is a lovely addition to the whole thing. I think just in general, just the idea that they've just kind of been plonked there.
What the play does is very interesting. It pulls apart everything you think you know about the Sontarans, and we've got Sontaran babies being grown in the ground. We've got female Sontarans. We've got Sontarans who sort of who can create things and are not warlike in any way, shape, or form. And it's about, how a lost tribe of these Sontarans survive. And I think there's been loads of different origin versions of the Sontarans in spin-off media and things like that, or things that push them on. But to actually go like, what does a good Sontaran look like, is a really good idea.
Yeah, because even your Strax is kind of very, he's still got a lot of that warlike tendency.
Yeah.
I don't know how many dedicated hardcore Sontaran fans there are, but it doesn't feel like anything that they add to the lore for Sontarans here is outside the realms of reasonable. Like the idea that female Sontarans are just old and they just never get that far.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the idea that they've managed to clone by planting the babies in the ground. And I'd never even noticed until I was listening yesterday that there's a bit where she is about to explain that, and he cuts her off and he's just like, no, it's not like that. And I think that, I know it's a common joke with Big Finish's roster of releases, but I do think they could do a really lovely sort of Sontaran the Archers set on Salvation 9.
I'm in.
Yeah, right. Like it's that along with Mark Williams as Brian, and all the sort of little holidays he goes on post Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. I think those are the two things I'd like to see Big Finish do more than anything else. But
I'm in for both of those.
Yeah, like lore-wise, I don't think there's anything that doesn't feel right.
Yeah,
in this story.
I agree, and I like the effect it has on the Doctor. And Salvation 9 has two intentions. It's the title of the planet, but it's also part of the Doctor's sort of salvation in a way of this character, this war scarred character who assumes that he's facing against another deadly warlike race, and he's questioning all the way through. And even like we're sort of 40 minutes in, and he still, has a moment where he questions again whether these Sontarans can be real.
Yeah, and that realization that they can, if they can escape their past, and if they can be forgiven for their war crimes, then I will say I do think that the bit where he's like saying it wasn't me isn't good enough, and I was like, I think that's unfair. On that, I think that's like saying that I am in no way culpable for the Battle of Hastings, and I do think that is a similar vibe. I think he's a little harsh there, though I understand why he's upset.
I feel like you can be aware of your history and the things that your cultural heritage and the things your people have done without ever going, ultimately, I didn't do it.
Yeah, that's true.
You can learn from your ancestors and sort of go, we probably shouldn't behave like that. Whether we do or not is a whole nother question. It's
a really nice, there is a lot of lovely stuff in there about colonialism and sort of how we, the bit at the end where Gaznak's kind of like, if we remember and if we try and commemorate those things, will it make it better? And it was like, no, but it's nice. It's good to do that. It's good to, it's good to be aware of those things, because there's nothing you can do to fix it, but you can work towards understanding why those were bad things. And that's, I like that message. I like that,
Absolutely. This is written by Timothy X. Atack, who is not somebody I have ever really experienced their work before. Was it a name that, like, in terms of your Big Finish listing and things like that, is it somebody you look out for, or is it completely alien to you two?
He probably would have been alien to me at the time. I think post this, he's a name that I look out for as being somebody I trust. I think he's got another one. He's got another Ninth Doctor one where the Doctor gets frozen into a gravestone for 1,000 years or something like that.
Wow.
And I cannot remember the title of it.
Is it called Planet of the End?
That does sound right, yeah. Yeah. Again, I think that prior to my Who marathon a couple of years ago, I don't think I was ever that aware of the crew and the writers and the cast. And obviously you kind of become aware of the big names, and especially on the telly. They're like, oh, this is a Moffat one, this is a Chibnall one, whatever.
Yeah.
In a way that I definitely wasn't prior to sort of taking all of that on board.
Because it turns out that's how normal people watch and consume things.
I know, right? And but the problem is, I think I've made myself more autistic over the course of doing that. But no, he's not a name I know well. But I do every time. I don't think there's anything that I've listened to of his where I've been conscious of it, and I don't think he's ever done it. He's not put a foot wrong as far as I'm concerned.
Amazing. I mean, he delivers this rich script that I think he does a really good job to sort of tell what's quite a traditional Doctor Who story, but it also feels like, it just kind of feels like we haven't heard or seen this story before, and it still amazes me within sort of 60 years of Doctor Who, 60 plus years of Doctor Who, that there will still be little stories like this that we haven't told before, that aren't like groundbreaking, canon-shattering stuff, but just like they move the character of this version of the Doctor on, they move the Sontarans on, and you walk away going, "Oh wow, that was just something really." It's not groundbreaking, but you're like, "Oh, the Doctor Who mythos has expanded slightly because of this."
Exactly. There's some really lovely, like we were talking about before. There's some really lovely additions to Sontaran lore. The Doctor grows a little bit. And like you say, you don't get an awful lot of room for character. I think with the Ninth Doctor, you've got more room for character development than you do for most of the Doctors, because of the war stuff, because of the history that we don't necessarily know about. Obviously, by the time this comes along, we do. But like, there's room for growth and room for healing in a way that you don't get with a lot of them. And you're exactly right. That there's so much in this, despite the fact that it is essentially just a man going, "Please don't shoot them."
Yeah. And there's an interesting thing where the sort of narrative of it is that, the story starts with the Doctor sort of breaking into a spaceship and trying to convince the captain of this spaceship not to destroy this Sontaran colony that they found below because they're goodies. And in my mind, I'm going, "Oh, here we go. Here's the Doctor's pseudo companion for this story," because the Doctor doesn't always need a companion, but I find it hard to get to grips with the Ninth Doctor's range a little bit because he just never has one.
Yeah, I think this is one of the better examples of when he is on his own. This is definitely one of the ones where it doesn't struggle quite so much.
Absolutely. But I just think, again, it's sort of playing with what I expect from a Ninth Doctor story.
Yeah.
But I guess, sort of speaking of which, it's got quite a small cast, but they all deliver great performances, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And there is actually there's one line reading that I adore, and I think I laugh at it every single time. And my son is always like, "Why? That's not as funny as you think it is, Dad." And I was like, "It really is. It's good." It's the line with Antinav Flores, the sort of the second in command on the ship, where the Doctor says, you seem like a reasonable person," and she says, "I try. We're at war," and it's just so offhanded, and she's just like, "What do you want?" Like, yeah. I love it. But no, there's nobody is bad in this. Like, nobody puts in a bad performance. Dan Starkey's always great as a Sontaran. He knows that role inside out. Every single person in this puts in an absolute shift.
And Gaznak, the female Sontaran, is played by Josie Lawrence, who is a comedian I remember being on television many times as a child, on Whose Line Is It Anyway and things like that. So I didn't realise it at the time, but looking up, I was like, of course you would get comedian Josie Lawrence to play the female Sontaran opposite Dan Starkey.
I always very much picture Gaznak, and I don't think this is entirely fair, but I very much picture Gaznak in the same way that you picture the female gremlin from Gremlins 2.
Me too. I was like, there is absolutely no reason for her to have lipstick on or
but that
is exactly
that is 100% how that happens. Yeah. No, Josie Lawrence in this is one of my first bits of actor spotting with my kid, because this for what. So the reason I ended up picking this, and the reason it's one of my favourites, aside from the fact that it's absolutely excellent, is the fact that it was for a while the only bit of Doctor Who media I could get my then 6-year-old to consume. I don't really understand why that is. He does know the Sontarans don't have tails. That's very much his thing. He's very much like, why don't more Doctor Who monsters have tails? And I'm like, well, I can give you a practical reason in the 80s is because they'd have looked shit, but I can't tell you why. Sort of, it does feel statistically as though he's met a lot less people with tails than you'd think over the course of that time.
That's true. I'm trying to think of...
There aren't many. I asked Toby Haydock about this, and he could only think of 2 or 3, and there really aren't very many. But it is because they'd been, you've got the Merca, which he likes for obvious reasons, and
kids love the Merca.
Someone's got to. But so Josie Lawrence also read the audiobook of Julia Donaldson's Room on the Broom, which at the time we have on in the car a lot. So that was my first bit of like, oh, you might know this voice. I don't suppose you recognise it? And he's like, shut up, Dad. He started doing it now as well, which is lovely. But I have had to force him. So
it's amazing though that you have been able to consume Doctor Who, the TV show, and indeed extended media with your kid. Because one of the big issues these days is that kids don't necessarily have the attention span to watch TV and films and things like that.
Like I say, I don't quite understand how I've managed to become so lucky in that regard. My general deal is Father's Day and my birthday, I'm allowed to watch one classic Doctor Who story. And we're slowly running out of tales. So he's we've done Kinder and Snake Dance because those were the two that he was immediately like, I'm into that. There's snakes. Yeah. I'm debating The Visitation.
Is there a tail?
No, there's a big sort of fishy thing.
Yeah, that'll do.
Yeah, which is it's close enough. Or Kroll. He liked Power of Kroll.
Lots of tentacles.
My favourite bit with Power of Kroll is the bit where Tom Baker gets slapped across the face with a rubber tentacle, and my son got so excited about it, he stood up and slapped me fully across the face. Like, I couldn't even be mad. Like, I couldn't be cross about it, so I just thought, I was just like, I'm just glad you enjoyed it, mate. Yeah. That really hurt, but I'm really glad.
Don't do that again, but
don't play, if you do it, if you repeat that action, we will have a problem. But at this moment in time, I'm very proud of you.
Amazing. What about the production values, the directorial style, the music, things like that? Because we're not quite in Murray Gold's territory with the music, for instance, are we?
No, I know that. Is it Howard Carter? I think the music. Yeah. I really like the music, and I really like the Ninth Doctor's theme. I know that it's not something that everyone goes for, the Marvel-y type stuff, and I think he's guilty of that in a lot of these. But the I love that. I think that's a lovely little tune. It's got exactly the right vibe for this range. I don't think the music's too intrusive here. Directorial style, I don't know enough about it, to be honest. It's not my forte.
I mean, you're not thinking that anything's sounding particularly bad, performances are off.
No, absolutely not.
It's edited together well, the script works, so they've done their job. A directorial job on audio, it's sort of only easy to spot when it's bad. Whereas, like on television, you can sort of go, well, visually that doesn't work, but that character performance is interesting and things like that. So the sort of the biggest compliment you can give somebody on audio is, you didn't fuck this up.
Yeah, basically. There's one line, again, there's one line, I've given you my best line reading, but there's my worst one, is Eccleston himself, which is the bit where they invite him in for lunch, and he says, oh, this is really good fruit, thank you. And it's the worst, it's the shittest pretending to eat acting I have ever heard. It's appalling. And aside from that, I don't think he puts a foot wrong. But that is my one for a directorial. Someone should have picked that up and said, Chris, at least actually have a real satsuma in your mouth or something, just so that it doesn't.
Eccleston complains about it, says he didn't get the humour right. Clearly he did, but he can't get his pretending to eat acting right.
No.
So.
And it may be, the egg may be on my face. It may be that there's footage somewhere of him actually like tucking into an apple while doing that scene, and I will go, oh, right, okay.
He eats an entire mango in the studio.
Weirdly, I was going to say mango, and then I thought that was too left field, so I decided to change it to apple at the last minute. So,
well, there we go. Great minds, great minds. Do you have much more you want to say on this one?
I really like the Democratic Sontarans. That's all. I just really like that they have a vote. I really like that they're like, well, listen, if we're all going to die in half an hour, fine. But if some of us might die sooner than that, we are going to have a conversation about that. And I love that that's where they've got to that. And I would argue that is a problem with the left in this country as a general whole.
I think you're probably right there. I also like, because in the end, the Doctor has to go off, and the way he proves that the Sontarans are not Sontarans is by getting a proper Sontaran. And to get the proper Sontaran, they have to kidnap him. So the Doctor has to teach two of the Sontarans, of the Salvation 9 Sontarans, to be Sontaran again, which I just thought was very amusing.
Yeah.
But I love the general ethos of it and the general message of, like, if the Sontarans change, it gives the Doctor hope that he can change too after, his warlike rage. So it's a really good little message for this version of the show.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm 100%.
So, is it a clanger, a banger, or an average meander?
It's hard to say that it's anything other than a banger.
It's a banger for me too. I am thoroughly convinced by this as a solid outing for Eccleston, and indeed, thanks to both this and the most recent Jodie one, I've just pre-ordered all of the Ninth Doctor and Rose stories.
Oh, fantastic.
Which I'm going to listen to. I mean, it's very exciting because while there may not be any Doctor Who on TV for a little bit, every other month or every month from Big Finish are either getting 1 hour of Jodie Whittaker or 1 hour of Christopher Eccleston and Rose. I just think that's going to go on for like 24 months. So I'm like, I listened to Big Finish doing various things, but when that Jodie one came out, and with all these, I'm going to try and make the effort just to sit down or have a bit of quiet time and just listen to it and take that as my Doctor Who for the month.
Fantastic. That's great. I've not got round to Vampire Weekend yet. That's probably whenever we finish this call. I'm straight on that, I think.
Amazing. It's not groundbreaking, but it's just lots of fun. Yeah. And I think, I don't even think the story's particularly great, but I think it's the sort of story that people who are like, oh, I don't like the scripts in that era, it's not proper Doctor Who. This is the most bog standard Doctor Who you can get those two in. I think you'll get a lot of people going, well, this is what they would have sounded like with a proper writer, because it's just basically a base under siege / whodunit. It's like, yeah.
No, that's all I need, to be honest. Likewise with this, likewise with Eccleston and Rose, I'm quite happy for it to just be run-of-the-mill stuff. I don't need it to break any ground. I just like having them there.
There's a lot to be said for just nailing the core ingredients of Doctor Who, even if you're not doing something new. If you can get some decent gags, some adventure-y bits, and some good little scares here, there, and everywhere, a good monster, and just get the characterization of the Doctor and companions right. You can get a lot out of that, and I think when Big Finish aren't doing the mishmashes that they're sort of famous for, that's where they're best.
Absolutely.
Too hot for TV.
So, The Seas of Titan was part of Hidden Depths. It was released on the 23rd of November, 2022. It was from Big Finish Productions, written by Elizabeth Miles and directed by Ken Bentley. It was produced by David Richardson. The DWM cover read for the second time, David Tennant is the Doctor, while Ncuti Gatwa had been announced as the Doctor and was doing a press tour of the States. Other releases at the time, Big Finish, we had What Lies Inside, featuring the 8th Doctor, Liv and Helen. Sullivan and Cross, AWOL, featuring Harry, Naomi and the 7th Doctor. Unit Nemesis, Objective Earth. And the Torchwood story was The Lincolnshire Poacher. From BBC Audio, we had the audiobooks of The Power of the Daleks and the audio anthology The 10th Doctor Novels, Volume 5. From BBC Books, we had a special illustrated hardback edition of Doctor Who and the Daleks and A World of Demons, The Villain of Doctor Who. On physical media, we have The Power of the Doctor on DVD and Blu-ray, Series 13 specials on Steelbook format and Blu-ray, and Doctor Who Am I was also released on Blu-ray and DVD. And from Candy Jar Books, we had The Mystery of Lucy Wilson, which is a weird Brigadier spin-off thing, and there were 4 books, including The Ballad of the Borad, The Invisible Woman, Memories of the Future, and Rampage of the Drop Bears. And the comic strip was the first part of The Liberation of the Daleks, featuring the 14th Doctor.
Oh, a classic of its time.
Indeed. Do you know, I've never read that.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm saving it for an episode of this one day.
Yeah, it's one of the few, I suppose, given that he only had, in total, 5 stories? 6, if you include that weird one they did with sort of him and Donna in between. It was another DWM short one, wasn't it, I think?
Yeah, absolutely. So. But if Doctor Who can do anything, they can eke out the life of a Doctor to infinity. I'm sure next time Tennant shows up at Big Finish, we might end up with some 14th Doctor audios.
It will eventually just be John Culshaw shouting at himself in a room. It's just going to be him and Nick Briggs just... That's it. That's going to be all there is left.
What's that guy that does the War Doctor now? Because he's quite young as well, isn't he?
Oh, Carley, Jonathan Carley. Yeah, he's very good, I think. I mean, it's weird to say he's the young War Doctor to be doing the exact impression of the old War Doctor. I think it's a weird choice. Yeah, because you could have done not that, but But then I'm trying to think: did John Hurt just always sound like that? No. I mean, it would have always sounded a bit gravelly, but not in the...
Yeah, I mean, that is years and years of smoking, right?
Oh, for sure. That's another one, by the way, another Julia Donaldson actor spot is in the... he plays the owl in the Gruffalo. so I always quite enjoy being like, that's the War Doctor, that.
Again, those releases, most of them passed me by, apart from things... Doctor Who Am I? Did you see that? It was a documentary.
I did. It's fantastic. I went to see it in the cinema in Leeds.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'm part of the... I say part of. I don't know if you qualify it as a proper group. The Yorkshire Whovians, they meet up every month.
Oh, nice!
And I'm reasonably confident there's a group of them. They were probably all there that night. It was before I met them, but I'm reasonably confident the entire cinema, there was only about 8 or 9 people there. It probably was all there. But no, it was very good.
Yeah.
It was very, very good.
Yeah, it's a decent documentary, and I thought like a nice little in for somebody who's like, what is the bizarre world of Doctor Who fandom?
It feels like one that you could show a non-fan, and it's still, there's enough there that you could, like a music documentary about someone who you're not that bothered about.
Absolutely.
Like it's still, the story's still interesting regardless of whether or not you like the music. And likewise, I think, that does that for Doctor Who.
Absolutely.
And my big takeaway, to be honest, was the baby in the Dalek mutant baby stroller. I think that's my. I don't have many positive arguments as to why we should have another child, but that is the only one.
Just to give that a go.
Yeah, I don't think that's good enough, to be honest. I think strongly that, you need more than that.
Too hot for TV.
On Saturn's moon Titan, the Doctor joins a human expedition exploring the moon's methane seas. Amidst the harsh, icy environment, the team discovers a hidden civilization deep beneath the waves, an underwater colony of sea devils, long ago settled there. As the humans push to harvest Titan's natural resources, a conflict unfolds over whether the Sea Devils represent a threat or the colony's key to survival. The Doctor must navigate growing tensions between humans and Sea Devils as he brokers an uneasy coexistence in the face of destruction.
Too hot for TV.
The last story we did was, again, like it had some interesting themes and some very serious and sort of touching moments, but ultimately there was a lot of comedy to it. This one, sort of tonally, is much more in line with, say, like The Impossible Planet or something like that. It reminds me very much of the sort of story that I think we probably would have got if Eccleston had done a second series. So it's quite tonally different. Did you pick it specifically because it was tonally different?
No. Again, this is a bit of a running theme, but this is the other one that I could get my son to listen to because he likes the reptiles. But it's interesting though, isn't it, that they are so different.
Yeah.
Though there's a lot to be, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but there is a lot that's actually quite similar. It opens with the Doctor surprising 2 women on a craft where there shouldn't be anybody else, and eventually a sort of a stubborn leader gets kidnapped. So there are similarities, but I'd not really clocked how different the tone was until I was listening to them in close succession.
Yeah. And again, a massacre gets averted.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it is. It's weird that it is basically the same story to a degree, except for the fact that this one is less fun.
It is less fun. I mean, it's not necessarily less enjoyable.
No, that's probably fair.
But it is definitely like, it is a more serious thing. We're on the moons of Titan, and it's a classic tale of, an Earth colony just trying to survive. Anybody who could afford to is left there, and the colony's just trying to keep afloat and not fucking kill everybody. So it's it's the impossible planet, it's aliens, it's all those things in terms of what's there. But the moons of Titan, there's some bloody sea devils there. What are they doing there?
I know, that's one of those things where you really have to suspend your disbelief with that. That is very silly.
Yeah.
But again, I can suspend my disbelief for a lot of things. So I'm happy to have it.
We know that the Silurians had spaceships, right? Because in Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, that was a Silurian spaceship initially, right?
True. Another one of my son's favourites.
Great taste.
Yeah, I think that one gets a real bad rap, to be honest.
So do the Sea Devils work here in terms of the story it's trying to tell, what it's trying to do with them? Because again, we're dealing with the return of a classic foe who sometimes there's a case of diminishing returns, like you guess you'd say.
Yeah, I'd say they do. Although it was one of those where it's rare that I listen to this one on my own. This isn't one I would go back to, but it's one that, like I say, my kid enjoys, so I end up listening to it in the car. So it's one that I know quite well, or at least I think I do. And then I listened to it on my own again last night to try and get a real sort of feel of it. They're a weird monster, aren't they? Because they're not. It's basically the same story that you get a lot of the time with the Sea Devils or with the Silurians. It's the same. People don't want to, even when they're not on their own bloody planet, people are still trying to kill them, and that isn't fair. Yeah, like it does feel very strange when the people are like, "How dare they?" And like, well, they were here for quite a long time before you got here. It does, like, even that's true on Earth, but it's even more true like on Titan. That's considerably more true here.
And there's always a Silurian or a Sea Devil that wants to broker peace, and there's some other ones that want to wage war. So it always ends up being the same story. I have to wonder whether this originally was written with a different kind of monster or enemy involved, and someone went, "We need an in, let's make it the Sea Devils." And it's like, yeah, but they're not on Earth. It's like, we can fudge that. It's fine.
Yeah.
And that's one of my problems with the Silurians and the Sea Devils, is it's always the same story. And I just wished that one day they'd have the balls to go, okay, the Silurians and the Sea Devils are here, and they've got to broker a peace, and that then they're just part of that world. And that happens here, which is great. But also, like, I want that to happen on Earth. I want Doctor Who 2027 to be the retelling of that story, and then at the end of it, the Silurians and the Sea Devils are just part of human life and to go on from there. Never going to happen. But I'm glad in this version of it, they've gone, I like the idea that you could jump back and tell some different stories with the Sea Devils and Silurians, because they are part of this planet's future now.
Yeah, again, it's a much more hopeful ending than most of these stories get. It's rare that they end so nicely. And you don't think it's going to either. I think it seems like an unusual...
Yeah. There's a point where there's like all hell's breaking loose on this human colony towards the end, and you think this is going to end up an absolute disaster. And I think that story would have been a good story. Like, I think this, again, with this sort of healing version of the Doctor, it would be quite interesting to sort of do the gear change and for everything to go horribly wrong at the end and everybody just die, when he's just had something when we've just had everybody lives.
Yeah.
Just this once everybody dies isn't done quite nearly enough often.
No, he does have... I'm trying to think, because again, my memory's terrible for these things. I really enjoy them when I'm listening to them, and then my memory just goes. So my notes are essentially, this happened, then this happened, then this happened. The analysis part is weak, but I've got a very strong list of things that happened in this.
Oh, me too.
But there's a bit where they were saying how cold it was on Titan, and he makes a reference to like, oh, it's boiling compared to wherever I've just come from. And I think that where he just come from is he meets Jack Frost or something.
Right, of course.
Not the animated snowman. I think that one is a bit more bleak. So there is bleakness in between these two stories.
Right.
But it is, like I say, there is I think as a general rule through the Ninth Doctor's output, there's a hopeful vibe, and I am here for that.
Absolutely. And you can imagine Eccleston, when they got him, going, I don't want to do any of that bloody Time War stuff or anything like that. but then they are trying to balance this. We're trying to do the more humour side of things, and it's difficult to do that with a war-scarred character. But the last story proved that they can do it well. And so here, you throw him into a conflict, and you're like, oh, this is going to end badly. And he still manages to pull it round and do the Doctor thing of helping set those events in motion that broker the peace.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing that I was struggled with most when I was listening to this, sorry, this is probably a tangent rather than the continuation of the conversation, but the fact that the Sea Devils are probably only one above Ice Warriors for shit audio voices.
Yeah.
Like they don't. That is the main. It's not whether or not they work in the story. It's the fact that their voices are annoying as fuck.
Yeah.
And Nick Briggs does a good job, I think, of making them slightly less breathy and shit in this.
Yeah.
Because he clearly has realised that that's not going to work.
People have a go at Nick Briggs for always being there, but who else they're going to fucking use? They're doing it on a budget. But also, like, these hissy, horrible voices of the Ice Warriors and indeed the Sea Devils. And it's like, that you got it from the programme, like...
Yeah, they were like that before. He's improved them here.
And I can absolutely see why, when the main show brought the Silurians back, they went, well, we're just going to have them sort of talk a bit like people, rather than... And I suspect whatever the war between the land and the sea turns out to be, the Sea Devils will sound like a lot more like people than they will the classic Sea Devils, because they're a bit hard to understand, and as you say, hard to differentiate, and just really fucking annoying.
Absolutely.
My brother won't listen to an Ice Warrior audio because he's just like, it's horrible to listen to people.
He's just right. It was one of those things where I know that, again, when I was doing my run through, Ice Warriors was I feel like people talk about it like it's a classic, or certainly the Ice Warriors are considered to be a classic monster, but maybe they're just a returning monster, and that's not the same thing. But the voices are so fucking irritating. I just can't get past it. It reminds me of Harry Hill did a thing years ago on his TV Burp thing about Phil Mitchell deflating. And it's just a supercut of all the times Phil Mitchell's just going. And that is the Ice Warriors. That's all that is.
Their voices are sort of impenetrable. And I think that's a good point you make, though. Doctor Who fans sometimes, I think, confuse iconic with, as you say, returning. Quite often they're returning because the suits haven't fallen to pieces in a cupboard. And that's as good enough as any. It's like when people talk about the iconic monsters of the new series, obviously there's the Weeping Angels, but then like the Jadoon and the Ood showing up, it's because the costumes exist and the actors exist to play them. The whole reason the Ood are in the Impossible Planet is because they were like, we need to build some new ones, and they were going to use the Slitheen originally. That story is considered quite a moody classic. Can you imagine seeing the Slitheen crawling through the air vents?
No. I mean, I can.
It just wouldn't have been very good.
No.
So I do sometimes think, as you say, just because they're returning doesn't mean it's because they're much loved. It's just because they exist.
It's weird, isn't it? Because I don't think there's ever a point where you get a thing, maybe with Big Finish more so, but on the telly, you never see the news that someone's coming back. You're like, oh, XYZ monster. Like even the Slitheen. Actually, that's a bad example. People probably would go, fuck, why are they doing that? But most of the time, if someone's coming back, they're bringing someone back, and we all go, oh, they're bringing them back for this Doctor, even though they might not be that well regarded.
Yeah, I remember when we got to Series 4 and they brought back the Sontarans, and I remember thinking, oh, we're not at the A-Team now. And, you know, like it was the Cybermen, the Master, the Daleks. And because there was a format, I was like, so they're going to show up in the middle and then they'll show up at the end as well. Like, what does the Sontaran finale look like? And well, fortunately, they had other ideas, or perhaps unfortunately, depending on your view on the story.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the new series actually does more interesting things with something like the Sontarans, whereas it doesn't move the Ice Warriors on it in their 2 appearances, really.
No. Just I think it's interesting as well that the new series relies so much on returning villains, and as do Big Finish. And fair enough, again, probably more so with Big Finish because it is essentially fan fiction, even though it's like properly licensed and all of that. That is essentially all it is. That's not fair. Not all it is, but that is what it is. Whereas with the telly, it's weird that we've got so few sort of classic monsters. There's the Weeping Angels, and that's it. From the new series of ones where people, and even then, every time they bring them back, there's always a bit of a worry that it's a diminishing thing. Like I don't particularly think there's any of them that I don't like, especially. But you know, like Village of the Angels was great. I really liked, what they did with them there.
But in 20 years, you're right. They've only really that one creation that you could argue is iconic. But then I think from classic Doctor Who, it's the Daleks, the Cybermen, and the Master, the big iconic ones.
You certainly don't have anything really past 1980, do you? That's not.
No,
and even then,
Sill's great, but nobody's going, oh, we must bring Sill and the Mentors back in the new series.
Oh fuck, wouldn't it be amazing? No. Like Shuigatwa versus Sill, I just think
I'm there.
Yeah. One thing that really winds me up, and I don't know if this is reasonable, but one of the things that really winds me up about the Weeping Angels is that that's just what they're called. But there's no species name, there's no nothing. And I know for a fact that if they did come up with something, it would be shit. But it does wind me up that that's just the name of what they are. I don't know why.
Just like the Ice Warriors and the Sea Devils.
Oh, do you know what? Yeah.
The Ice Warriors and the Sea Devils were both named by humans in the stories, and that's just what they've been called ever since.
That's actually a very good point, which I've never considered before up until this very moment. And now I feel chastened.
No, but I'm with you. I think, come on, someone's got to figure out exactly what... Maybe we would have... Remember they said, oh, if we'd got a Class Series 2, we would have gone to the home world of the Weeping Angels. It's like, probably a good job that we didn't.
Yeah. Especially because, I've never seen Class either. I've definitely seen far more sort of homemade spin-off stuff than actual officially licensed spin-off stuff.
Let's get back to our Sea Devils and our 9th Doctor outing. So how do you feel the use of the Sea Devils work here? Do they do anything new with them besides take them off the planet?
No, they take them off the planet to do the exact same thing. To be fair to the Sea Devils, apart from the one who is trying to poison everybody, they are largely just getting on with it. But I think that's probably true in most. I think there's probably less taste in the Sea Devil community. There's less taste for bloodshed than there is in most of their stories. Normally, they come back and they kick fuck out of everybody. But on this occasion, It's just there's a few bad apples.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure we'll see that story played out again at some point soon on BBC One.
Yeah, almost entirely.
What about the Doctor here? Like, how do you feel about Eccleston's performance? Again, he's in a more serious environment, but does he still get those lighter moments?
I think so, yeah. I think he actually, that was my one sort of real up point for this one. I actually think he's much stronger in this than he is in Salvation 9. And I can't really justify that with any kind of opinions or backing up of thoughts, but that is how I felt, and I can't do anything to change that.
No, I get what you're saying. I do think it's not that Eccleston can't do the humour. I just think people are more used to seeing him being serious. So when he's just got a story where he is more serious, he feels the most at home. But that doesn't mean he shouldn't be challenged by a script to do things outside of his comfort zone. It's just Eccleston's the serious actor who was the serious Doctor. Again, you look at things like Boomtown and Dr. Dances and you go, no, he's really good with the comedy. But I think he as an actor is just naturally more at home in those serious things.
Yeah, that's fair. One that I did have was that a lot of the time in Eccleston's audio stuff, they do a lot of celebrity historicals. There's lots of stuff about him meeting, which I get the feeling is an Eccleston choice. I feel like he's very much gone said, I would like my Doctor to meet the man who invented association football, and I'd like him to meet the people who discovered the North Pole. And I feel like he's very much just gone through like a list of sort of socialist heroes and just can I meet all of these people, please? And this feels like Diana Hendry, the character in this, it feels like a celebrity historical, except obviously completely fictional. Like it feels like that's the vibe they're going for.
Absolutely.
Like it feels like he's meeting somebody who was exploring in real life, except obviously
it's not real. But yeah, and I think that's Elizabeth Miles who wrote it. I think, she's picked up on that and sort of gone, we're going to do pioneers again. I keep coming back to Impossible Planet, but when the Doctor talks about these people, these pioneers out there just doing it because they want to explore, to survive. And this woman, Diana Hendry, is sort of just willing the exploration of this moon and for her people to survive. And it's just like, you can kind of get behind the human spirit of it all.
Absolutely. I have a feeling that one of his box sets was actually called Pioneers. Now that I'm thinking about it,
very well have been. There's been.
I think that's it's clearly a vibe that he's going for.
Have you listened to all of the Ninth Doctor ones? Or
I have, yeah. That's my go-to. Him and the Eighth Doctor. Those are my two go-to Big Finish.
Oh, interesting. Because I've long since given up following a particular range and just dip in where I feel's appropriate. So that's quite interesting that, like, I followed the Eighth Doctor up until the start of, I think, Stranded. At the end of Stranded was where I sort of fell off.
I think that's fair. I think it's harder now. I didn't mind the box set stuff, but I don't understand why they're quite so much more expensive. That's the bit that throws me, is they put out sort of 3 or 4 stories and it's just such a, I know it's a bigger commitment, it feels like.
Yeah.
I didn't mind that they were kind of trying to make them like a telly season.
Yeah.
But it is harder to follow, I think.
Yeah. So you've listened to pretty much all of these Ninth Doctor ones. Is there a sense of evolution for the character over the course of them, or is it just certain stories do interesting things and others are a bit more generic?
Yeah, I'd say more the latter. I think it's one of the major criticisms that people have had. I don't know, again, like I say, I'm very easily pleased. So whether I'm one of these people that would have this criticism, I don't really know. But it's certainly true that he can feel a bit stunted because of the fact that he has a very good arc in his only TV series. So getting him from that point, sort of post-war, pre-Rose, there's not that much growing he's allowed to do. In that period of time. I think there's a couple of stories where, like I say, in Salvation 9 you really feel it. In this one you can it's not quite as clear, but there's the overarching theme of hope. Is one with River Song, Star-Crossed. I'm not a huge fan of River Song, generally speaking. She winds me up. I don't know why. But
that's fair.
The story that he had with her is lovely. It's really, really lovely. And it's the first time, I think, in the entire River Song sort of, which again I wouldn't have listened to for her. I only listened because I was part. But they did a whole box set where he had adventures with her. Right. And there's one where they're trapped on this galleon in space or something, and they just sort of grow old together or something. And as ever, it all gets cancelled out in the end. Yeah. But it's really lovely. Like there's real character development for both of them in a way that I don't really think either of them get across the audios. But no, as a general rule, I don't think I like having his audio's there, and I'm glad that they're there, but I'm not there for the plot.
I'd completely missed that there was a Ninth Doctor and River Song box set. I mean, she has met everybody, so it sort of makes sense.
Yeah.
And in this Jodie run,
They must be itching for it, right?
Yeah, and I actually think there's a good story to tell there, perhaps with Yaz's reaction to the Doctor's wife in the sort of showing up. You know, I think there's an interesting story to tell.
Probably, I can very much just imagine Alex Kingston just doing her thing.
Absolutely. So what do you think of the relationship between the Ninth Doctor and the human cast here?
I like it, generally speaking. I mean, it's one of those, isn't it? There's the bit he wanders in, and one of them trusts him, one of them doesn't. It's very standard, very by the numbers. I like him and Diana. I think they're nice. I think, again, speaking of the range as a whole, what tends to happen is, I think, as you said yourself earlier, he tends to walk in, and there's one person who you go, oh, that they could go with him at the end, and they never, and then they just don't.
Yeah.
But him and Diana make sense as a team. They, she's got that curiosity. The scene, I love the scene where they discover I tweeted Elizabeth Miles about this because my son was like, "What is that creature they find?" So I tweeted her to ask her, and it is a Merca. It's just they didn't have the rights, so it's not. So they're just. I don't know how the Merca survives in a methane sea, but I don't know any. The biology of the Merca is not my strong point. But I love that scene. I think that's a really lovely scene where he sort of sits back and just kind of goes, you could just enjoy this, And she's like, no, I've got too much data to collect. Like, I really love that. I think that's a really lovely character moment. I think, generally speaking, they make a nice team. I think he treats every other character that he meets with the exact, when he meets those characters in other stories, he treats them exactly as you would expect. I think Diana Hendry is I can't remember the name of the actor, but she's the standout for me in this.
Again, really good performances, really good cast. Nick Briggs does his thing as the Sea Devils, as you say, and manages to differentiate between different ones, which isn't always easy. The
music makes me think of The Little Mermaid. That's one of my. It's very Little Mermaid. And Humans Before Reptiles is a shit slogan. I think that's mainly, those are the only things that haven't come up.
Perhaps the political satire of it's subtle enough that it's not too in your face, but as always quite a lot with these things, it's not going to change anybody's mind over their politics if they read something into this.
Yeah, there is a lovely line that I've written down because I was just like, oh, actually, no, that's one worth remembering. Because every now and again you do get a line that, a lot of these, I think, I know they're not intended to be disposable, but they're much of a muchness. But every now and again, there's something that jumps out. And there was the bit where he says to Diana, I think, I always assume people have the best of intentions. And she says, but what if they don't? And he says, well, then you can be very disappointed in them. I think that's a really nice. I think if there's a way that one should live one's life, that's a good way to be.
Absolutely. So we must rate it. Is it a clanger, a banger, or an average meander?
Well, if I was my own 8-year-old son, I'd be saying it was a banger, but I think having listened to it on my own, I'm going to have to say it's an average meander.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It's a solid bit of Doctor Who. And if you like your Sea Devils, you like your Ninth Doctors, you like your Space Pioneers thing, you'll have a good time. But the first one was a real eye-opener for me. This one was more just like, yeah, that was 50 minutes of solid Doctor Who, so it's an average meander for me.
Too hot for TV.
Thank you very much for joining me today and bringing some new Ninth Doctor into my life. It is one of the ranges at Big Finish that I have explored the least, and I'm looking forward to jump into some more. If people want to find you on the internet, you got anything to plug? Want to tell people where you're at?
I'd love to, yeah. So you can find me on Blue Sky at madpaddington.bsky.social. I think that's what it's. I can't never remember the end bit, but I feel like
nobody can.
No, nobody needs to know. And if you didn't find my voice too grating, I'm about 26 chapters into creating an audiobook version of Eater of Wasps by Trevor Baxendale, which is basically I'm just sort of reading the book out loud and chipping in as I go.
Amazing.
And hopefully at the end of it, we'll have a full audio book.
Awesome.
So legally, I don't know. That's called the Pagiarist. So if you search the Pagiarist, which is just plagiarist without the L, which I have a habit of doing this whenever I've started a podcast, is I'd name it something that you can't Google because Google just corrects you. It's a nightmare. So, but either way, if you find me on Blue Sky, that's all I'm ever posting. I don't actually post anything of interest apart from that. So if you fancy a listen and you didn't find my voice too irritating, then please give that a listen.
Amazing. Well, no, that's awesome. I will be sure to check it out. But as I said, thank you so much for joining me today.
It's been a pleasure.
Next time, I'll be joined by Nigel Bromley, and we'll be talking about 2 audio releases, Doctor Who at the BBC Volume 1 and John Pertwee, An Evening with the Doctor. And until next time, I've been Dylan.
I've been Joe.
And this has been Doctor Who, Too Hot for TV.
Too hot for TV.
We've been watching a lot of and Just Like That, the Sex and the City spin-off, and fuck me. I'm like, because I've been trying to convince her that the Stranger films are better, and they are. They are better. But I don't know if you're a Sex and the City guy, but
I'm
fuck
not.
me. They've butchered those girls. They've butchered them. I wasn't the biggest fan to begin with, but oh my God, Dylan, I can't even explain to you, man. Especially if you don't know it to begin with. But it's like, I don't understand. Like, there's so much. I've got no one to talk to about it. My wife's like, you can stop talking about it now. I'm like, but I'm so angry about all of it. And I don't understand.
Unfortunately, I'm not a Sex and the City person. Daisy, my partner, is, and I, if she wants to watch it, I know that's my time to go in the bedroom and watch Doctor Who.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough.
It's just like, are we watching something together, or are you just watching your thing? And if you're watching your thing, I'm quite happy to go and watch Doctor Who or whatever my current obsession is.
That's fair enough. I mean, apart from season 1, it's all pretty good. You should ask her what her opinion is on And Just Like That if she's been watching it.
I will.
And if she's not, there's a good reason.
Right. Like she definitely watched. How many seasons has there been of the new one?
We're in the middle of series 3 now, which is astounding to me because it's such a fucking car crash. Like, like how the first series of Blackadder is really shit.
Yeah.
And then they made it good and you sort of think that's not what they've done with this.
This is the reverse, it's true.
It was pretty bad to begin with, and it's only getting worse as they go on. So, but there we are. Sorry,
I'm not a Sex and the City fan, but when I was in New York a few years ago, I did have a picture outside Kerry Bradshaw's apartment. So
why wouldn't you?
Yeah, Daisy wanted to go there, and I knew what it was, so I was like, I will have a photo too.
Yeah.